Thank you, Madam Chair. Governor, thank you again for our phone conversations. I enjoyed them. And I know that you and I have discussed some of this, but for the benefit of those whom I represent, I'd like to go over some of the same things we discussed, because I think there's kind of a question before the American people. Does the Biden administration actually care about their jobs? You had mentioned that the Biden team will have, in response to Senator Barrasso, will have a SWAT team to make sure that folks are employed. I'm thinking they have a SWAT team to take out some jobs. So the Keystone XL pipeline, 11,000 people either fully or partially employed, obviously unemployed. You had mentioned that ideally we replace those with green jobs. Mr. Buttigieg, when he was in testimony yesterday, admitted that those jobs will not come online quickly. Gina McCarthy in another interview said that the American people have sacrificed enough. We should not ask them to sacrifice more. So how do we square the fact that we're killing 11,000 jobs now, that there will be some, assuming that they're replaced with green jobs, that there'll be some lag time there, and yet supposedly the American people are not being asked to sacrifice anymore because they've suffered too much already? Your thoughts on that, please?
Yes, thank you, Senator. I know Senator Stabenow feel this. I totally get the concern about job losses, totally. But this is why the President Biden's commitment to create millions of jobs in infrastructure.
How quickly will those jobs form, though? Mr. Buttigieg concedes that they may not come online for maybe years. And if you've lost a job that is putting food on your table now, it's cold comfort to know that years from now, perhaps in a different state with a different training within which you have, there'll be another job available.
Yeah, I completely understand what you are saying. What I can tell you is, from my experience in Michigan, is that when we focused on providing incentives for job providers to locate in Michigan in clean energy, they came. I mean, you know, Senator Manchin and Senator Stabenow have 48C, which they hope will be able to be plussed up to entice job providers into communities that have been left behind. So this is why the.
So I'm sorry, because I have limited time.
Yeah.
And I see where you're going with that, but obviously there's going to be a lag time, and it may happen, it may not happen, but those folks will not have a paycheck next week. As we all know, oil and gas is used not just for fuel, but also for feedstock for the plastics. You're sitting at a desk which is covered with some plastic to keep it from being scratched. It's probably built with certain glues that are made from the feedstock from oil and natural gas. So is it something we agree on, that if there's decreased supply, that prices typically would increase for oil and gas?
The economic rules suggest that when the supply goes down, the price goes up.
So one thing that has been just so remarkable in South Louisiana and across the Gulf Coast is there have been companies moving, reshoring, to take advantage of low-cost natural gas in our workforce in order to build those plastic lubricants and chemicals that ship worldwide, creating jobs here, and done with our environmental standards, not those of another countries, which are far worse. So net global greenhouse gas emissions are lowered. My concern is that if we decrease the supply of natural gas and oil from the United States, we either have to import it or we become less competitive because our domestically produced is now higher because of a lower supply. Is there anything faulty with that logic?
The only thing I would say, sir, is that we would want to increase the pie of energy feedstocks. And so as we consider what our energy sources are, diversifying and adding new sources.
But if we speak not of energy feedstock, but we speak of a feedstock for a lubricant, a plastic, a resin, we could grow it from corn, but then you have to have more fertilizer, which is made with methane, in order to have greater yield. Again, is there, with that, not speaking of energy for fuel, but rather that for feedstock, was there anything wrong with my logic?
Well, here's what I would say, sir. I know, and you and I spoke about this, the opportunity to, and separate from cost, the opportunity to provide these products as well as energy in a way that reduces greenhouse gas emissions is there if we take this technology to scale. So you and I spoke, I mean, it's slightly separate, you and I spoke about this idea of blue hydrogen and how the push boats along the Louisiana coast might be, for example, a pilot for that kind of technology. I would love to work with you on that to ensure that people are put to work, but in a way that reduces greenhouse gas emissions. I think that's true for the feedstock for products as well.
And I thank you for that. I'm out of time. I will thank you for that commitment to kind of seeing what we can do. But I will say that if we have less supply of natural gas and oil, we will buy it from other countries, creating jobs there while we destroy jobs here. Thank you, Governor. I appreciate it, and I yield back.